Hey, welcome. I am Catherine Nolan, once high-performing perfectionist good girl turned goddess of balance, kicking even bigger goals. This is the podcast where we make balance doable for busy, overstretched working women. Embracing your voice, your feminine power and energy allows you to truly step into greatness for the sake of you and all you hold dear. This is balance. The episode you're about to hear is one of my earliest episodes when the podcast was called Don't Be Asked and our focus was on building courage. Since then, you have evolved and so have I. You have fierce courage when it comes to others. And now it's time to balance what you're willing to do for others with what you're willing to do for yourself. Let's go, my friend. Let's bring balance into your life. And a passion for helping people to create the life that they want to live. So Amy is that woman, the one that many wish they could be, the one who seems to have it all together. Work is booked solid and it's joyful. She has time allocated to creating her dream life with her kids, her family. She's the epitome of calm joy. Amy is generous, but she's got boundaries, really healthy boundaries. And in this pod chat, Amy is pulling back the curtain on what a professional organizer really does. The difference between a life that's styled to look great or actually organized to support your vision of happiness, and how it starts in your home. The correlation between your home and your career, your weight, your relationships, and how getting your home organized can actually unburden you and shift your confidence. I just know you are going to love Amy every bit as much as I do. So, Amy, you are the founder of the Organising Bee. You're a professional organizer. And I actually came to you through Osmompreneur with your book, Hello Busy. Sorry. Oh, my goodness. Goodbye Busy, Hello Happy. And it is addictive. Oh, my goodness. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I would love to just actually read a few sentences out of this if I can to kick us off. Is that okay?
Perfectly fine.
Beautiful. So you start by talking about the people who you support, and you say that you work primarily with families and women. You say primarily intelligent, successful women who are wonderful mothers or kicking goals in their career and other areas of their lives, often both. You say they all appear to have everything held together, the perfect happy life, but often what lies beyond the front door of their home tells a different story.
Yeah. So what
That is so captivating.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. So I work with these women, very often very high profile women in their workplaces.
Yeah.
They're holding executive positions. They're managing teams of hundreds, of people, and they've got it in the workplace. Everything is under control. It's working well. It's going well. But when they get home, they just can't bear to make another decision, right?
Yeah.
The mental fatigue sets in. That's it. They've shut off for the day.
Yeah.
Just the thought of, okay, what do I need to eat for dinner?
Yes.
Is probably all that they can handle.
Yeah.
And so, maintaining their home is the least of their concern or their capacity at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
So we're not to say that these individuals are dirty people or they're not living in squalor or anything like that. They're just so busy in their life that they're just not able to maintain their home in the way that they really want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that, sorry.
I was just going to say, and then you add in other factors, health factors, or any form of neurodivergence or trauma or any other major life circumstance that rocks the world, and then it adds just that extra layer and complexity to the things on their plate that they're able to manage. So the home gets pushed down the ladder one more time.
So interesting. When we were chatting last time, you were saying, I was so surprised by this, you were saying that a lot of the people who you work with, so I just assumed that a home organizer is someone like on the TV, someone who goes into someone whose home is in a very physically, visibly blocked state, and they look as though they're in a world of trouble, but that's not the sort of person you described at all. The sort of person you describe is actually someone who seems to, they might look as though their home is functioning quite well, but they need more help. Is that right?
Yeah, I would. Yes and no. Yeah. So yes, the ones that you may see on some of the shows where you can't see the floor, you can't see the benches, you can't see the beds. I do work with clients that are like that as well.
Okay.
And usually for the particular clients that I work with, it might look or present to an outsider who doesn't know them that it might be part of hoarding disorder or something bigger. But in most cases, in my thing, it's just a passive decline over time. Yes. So it's just, okay, I had a busy week at work and things, I just couldn't be bothered, or I just didn't have the energy to put this pile of bills away. And then, I was made redundant. And so then, there's depression or anxiety or stress, or there's other things on the plate. And so then that pile of bills just gets higher and higher, or paperwork, or we could be looking at socks. It doesn't matter what it is in the home. And then maybe a partner leaves them, or, a death in the family. And then that progressively gets more as well. And then you've got your work circumstances. So, and every individual is unique. So I go into homes that are both, some that do look very, very cluttered and disorganized, and others that I walk into and it looks like I've walked onto the set of The Home Edit. Like, it's beautiful, it's clean, it's got the most perfect baskets and labels, and I walk in initially and going, I don't know why you called me. Like, you've already done it yourself, you've got it under control. But then they have their own set of struggles in that they've organized their space to look a certain aesthetic, to look good. But they've forgotten one really, really key ingredient, or part of the process of organization, and is how they want their home to function, or how they need their home to function, and what their lifestyle. And so they've just recreated what they've seen on Pinterest, or recreated what they've seen on The Home Edit, or any other source. There's so much Pinterest perfect or perfectly organized homes on social media. So they've just found one that they like the look of and thought, I'll just recreate that. So they've recreated it and it looks perfect, but then they've forgotten they've forgotten themselves in the process. And they find, actually, I'm not that tall. I can't reach the things on the top shelf. And so then they can't reach their cereal or whatever's on the top shelf. So then they don't put it back. Or they've, realized that, this wardrobe, we've styled a wardrobe in a particular way. I say the word styled there because I don't think it's been styled rather than organized, because they've left the them out of the equation. They've put all the long hang dresses in. It looks beautiful, it looks organized, but hey, they don't wear dresses very often, and they wear pants and shirts every day, and the pants and shirts are tucked way down low and not accessible in the way that they need. So it's going back to understanding. Then in that case, when I go into a home that looks perfectly organized, it's then taking a step back and working with them and say, okay, how do you actually use your space? And what do you need when what do you wear every day? How often do you wash? When you do your washing, what's the type of process that you do? Do you fold your clothes directly off the clothesline? Does your clothes come out of a dryer? Do you not fold at all? Does it just come out and go in a basket? Do you write through your basket to put your clothes away, or do you have a set process of putting your clothes away? What are you wearing every day? So there's 100 million questions that when I'm working with a client, we talk through. So it's a lot of discussion, understanding in really minute detail about their lifestyle and how they work, to then build it so that oh, actually, you wear, jeans and t-shirts, 80% of the time. Well, let's put that in your prime real estate. And you like to hang your jeans, or you like to fold your jeans, and you like to fold it naturally in this particular way. Let's organize it in a way that works for your natural habits and the way that you work already. But let's do it in a way that makes sense to you and is easy, simple for you to maintain. So there's lots of little complexities there.
Amy, I've got like a dozen questions for you, but I'm going to ask you the squirrely one that's been plaguing me since I first opened this book, and that is, as someone who is, so for myself, I've always been kind of naturally organized. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I have some OCD. There's some trauma in my background. So I am organized like breathing.
Yeah.
But I live in a household with other people who are not. So there's some neurodivergence in my household. And I have tools to work with that, right? So I have tools that help their development. Like I don't want to hand things over to them. I need them to be able to learn to organize themselves as well.
Fabulous.
But I have tools to help me survive through that process of them not being organized in the same way that I am. Like I have multiple sets of keys that they don't know about because my keys go missing. And like a few weeks ago, we were down to all of my spare keys had gone missing. My keys, my spare keys, and my spare had all gone missing. I couldn't get the kids from school because all the keys had gone. All the keys had gone, rather.
Yeah.
We managed to get the kids, it was fine. But my question is, how do you survive being an organized person? And I have this conversation with others a lot about this idea of being organized. And actually, I've had this conversation with a lot of people since reading your book about the work that you do. Because when you're working with someone in a house, you're not just working with one person who lives alone. You're working with a family who has multiple needs and multiple identities. How do you bring all that together?
Well, I think it's actually touching on what you've already said, is to understand the differences of all the people in your home and trying to work around all of those. And so similar to the way that you have multiple sets of keys, we try and just work with all those little idiosyncrasies of each person to try and make it work for them. So there's such a multi-layered question. So one of the things I find is that the individual who engaged me, so usually that's the mother or the wife of the family, comes in and says, no one in the family, they don't, I'm trying my hardest to keep it organized, but it all falls on my shoulders. No one is following any of the systems. I just can't get it to work.
Yeah.
And so there we then look at, trying to work out a communication strategy and routines and systems in the family of how that they communicate this change. Because the majority this is a generalization, but a lot of the time I find that the woman goes in, is controlling of, not controlling in a bad way, but it has control, or the responsibility, I should say, probably the responsibility of keeping the house tidy.
You're okay to say I'm controlling. I'll take that. It's okay. You're okay to say that.
I didn't mean controlling like that.
No, but in my situation, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
For those home maintenance tasks, and just gets on and does it, and does it in a way that makes sense to her.
Yeah.
But there's no communication then between how she's doing it or why she's doing it in a particular way. And then because because people don't follow that system, therefore there's an assumption that they're just being lazy or they just won't listen to me. Why won't they do it? But usually it's a case of the system doesn't make sense to the other people in the household.
Yeah.
So then it's going back to having a bit of a conversation as to, okay, why is it well, you know, I've asked you to put so for children, you know, coming in from home from school, I've asked you to put your bag in the bedroom, or I've asked you to put your bag on this hook.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing that you're not doing it. Can you tell me, can you talk to me about this type thing? And a lot of times you might find that the hook is too high for the child.
Yeah.
Or the bag is too heavy for the child to put it up into that space.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't make sense to the child to put it there.
Yeah.
That they want to put it in their bedroom or something like that.
Yeah.
So I find that a lot of times that having that extra layer of communication and understanding why that they're not doing the particular task sometimes helps. But then there's a whole, if you're looking at, you know, a child with ADHD or any other form of neurodivergence or autism or anything like that, there is so many other layers, and they're all strategies based on their own, and we can work with their support worker or any other support that comes into the home. Sometimes it's an OT that's got strategies to help that child. So then we're working with an OT to then make sure that what's happening in one area is then happening in the home. So
wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times it's what makes sense to, if we're looking at a child's bedroom or a play space, what makes sense to us doesn't necessarily make sense to the child.
Yeah.
Or even to our partner or our husband.
Yeah.
So if we let go a little bit about what our expectations are, and allow them to take control of their own space and say, okay, actually, I want my socks to be in this drawer over here, not over there where you put them. Often when you give them a little bit more autonomy and the say in where an item lives or belongs, even if it irritates you to the nth degree, even if it doesn't look the way you anticipate or expect or want it to look, even though it doesn't look that way, often they can control it. So it might not look the way we want it to, but if they can put the item away, and it's away and it's off the floor, or it's where, you know, that's better than it not being. So sometimes it's not about a perfect looking system. It's more about a functional thing, about the individual. So that the question you've asked is so broad. There's so many different little bits that you could talk to. But it's about the communication, about understanding the individual, almost letting go some of our own expectations on how it should work. And having, if you need to, have multiple things in multiple rooms. If you're
Amy, I feel like at the same time I feel both a little bit deflated and also really excited when someone gives me a taste of my own medicine as an answer to my solution, that idea of communication being the key. But Amy, tell me about how much time it takes, because you know, like, this is a lot of questions that you're asking, and I really hear this fundamental huge difference between styling and organizing from the description of what you've just said and how you're working with so many different moving parts. You're not just going in and saying, this is how a laundry should look. You're really getting to understand what works for each individual and working for them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How long does this take?
It takes a different amount of time for every client. There is no, I don't work on a big project where we come in and say, let's just work on your home for a week, and at the end it's organized.
No TV cameras?
No TV cameras. My clients, we work on quite a slow, gradual basis, because a lot of it is about trialing systems and building new habits and things. So quite often I can be seeing a client for 2 hours, 2 hours or 4 hours once a week for a period of multiple years.
Yeah.
So, you know, it may be when you're all putting it together, you know, it may be 40, 80, you know, 200 hours with an individual client, but it's done in a slow and gradual way. So it's not financially that they can budget for it, but also so that if we make grand, big scale change too fast, it's often really difficult for my clients to maintain it. It's just too much change too quickly. And it works really well for the first couple of weeks because they've still got the excitement and the adrenaline and everything. But then after that wears off, they realize, oh, I've got to learn how to fold my clothes in my wardrobe differently. Oh, and I've got to remember to put this away in this spot after I do the dishes every time. And I've got to remember to do, when I walk in the front door, I've got to remember to do this, this and that. So if we just do one small little thing each week, so maybe let's set up the entryway as they come in the front door. What do they do at the front door? And so we just set up a little zone relating to, you know, where their shoes are or their handbag or their clothes or whatever it is in that first week. And then we can say, okay, now let's practice it for 7 days. Practice in your shoes here, practice doing your handbag on the hook or in wherever it makes sense to that particular client.
Yeah.
And then I ask them to have a little bit of a think about each day, about what's working, what's not working, what's hard, what, you know, what's difficult about that process, or is there anything, is it working perfectly? So if there's anything difficult, that's a little barrier that we can identify pretty soon to say, okay, so that's, if we leave it too long, it's probably going to be a stopper that it won't work for too much longer. So let's try and simplify it even further.
Yeah.
So sometimes, I've got clients that I've been seeing, you know, 3 years. We're just working through things slowly, gradually. I'm not an organizer that it just to come in, let's just do a pantry makeover or a wardrobe makeover. Yeah. And that's just because I think the type of clients that I work with. There's nothing wrong with not to say there's anything wrong with doing just to come in, let's just do a wardrobe makeover or a pantry makeover. Different. My clients are just looking for big whole scale change in their life. And so we're just working through their whole home, every space in the home gradually. So and that does take time.
So Amy, I'm a huge fan of micro habits. I know that micro habits are a great way to build towards what you really want. But sometimes people who are not familiar with this idea of doing the small steps to get to the big outcomes, it can feel like, why would I go to the effort of doing this small thing? Like what difference does it make if I fall off the wagon on this small thing? Because it's not really going to have a really big outcome anyway. How do you find, so when you're helping people to do such tiny changes each time you see them, do you find that they stick with them or do they slip backwards?
It depends on the client.
Sure.
Some clients do have backsliding. So, and usually that happens when something unexpected has happened in their life and then we need to go in and reset.
Yes.
But I find that the little micro habits and I do a lot of habit stacking as well.
Yes.
So getting something to work and then we just add another little thing on works well for my clients because they're already so overwhelmed. So just adding any new responsibility or tasks to their day-to-day life is all they can really handle. So,
I love that. I wanted to where am I? Oh, can I read something else from your book?
Please, I'd love you to.
Okay, you talk about, let me see. Okay, you talk about a morning, and you talk about you go to the kitchen, you make a cup of tea or coffee with joy, drinking from your favorite mug. You talk about getting the kids for school ready without a fuss, and leaving your home, putting on your favorite shoes, quickly opening your handbag, your mobile phone, your keys. The morning runs smoothly and calmly. You even have time for journaling and morning meditation if you choose to. You leave your home happy. Never at any point during the morning are you left looking for things you've misplaced. Everything was in its rightful place. You didn't waste time making decisions on what to wear today, what mug to use, or even what to eat for breakfast. You weren't hunting for your child's library bag or missing a book or missing a shoe. Your emotions remained regulated. Everything was there and ready to go. You are happy. And you say, does it seem far-fetched? And you say that it's achievable and realistic. I love this idea. I love this idea of this miracle morning. You talk about the freedom, Amy, of having less. What does that mean? Can you tell me more about that? The freedom of having less? And I don't think you use those words. That's my words that I've. So in reading your book with, I think I said to you earlier, like, this is one of those books that I read with a pen, because there were so many aha moments as I'm reading, going, oh, I love that. Yeah, this was one of them. This idea of the freedom of having less, the simplicity.
Yeah, I think it's so important, that freedom of less. But before I talk to that, I just want to, if you don't mind, just to that scenario.
Yes.
So that scenario, yes, it's a perfect morning, and yes, nothing goes wrong. And I do acknowledge that it's not looking at too much into detail about each individual, what's going on in the person's life at the time, whether or not, they've got a death in the family or some major trauma, or a neurodivergent child, which, may peak emotions and so forth. But it is going back to the idea that if we look really at our own lifestyle and functionality and build in systems that are maintainable, we should be able to have, maybe not exactly as perfect as that scenario, but it is a lot more achievable than if we didn't look at it that.
I get that.
So then moving on to your question about the freedom of less, I think this is a really interesting thing. So the less we're, in pure simple terms, the less we have in our homes, the less our homes demand of us. So, the less clothes that we have, the less we need to wash, iron, dry, and put away. It's just a simple fact. The less dishes we have, the less dishes we have to wash. The less, paperwork we keep, the less we have to file. The less, if we reduce the amount of toys that our children have, the less time that our children or we as adults need to spend putting our toys away. So there's that the less you have, the less time you need and energy you need to maintain or keep your house in a tidy state. And it gives you then more time to do the things that you enjoy, because it takes, so, if you had, 5 loads of washing to do on a weekend, as opposed to 2 loads of washing on a weekend, that gives you so much extra time in your day to do whatever it is you love. But there's also the other thing is that the less, we don't need as many things to make us happy in life. So it's not real. Many people think, that, okay, if I get that new car, I'm going to be so much happier, or I need to get that promotion, and then I'll be able to afford that nice handbag and those perfect shoes that I want, and then that's going to change my life, because it's it's going to give me more confidence, or it's going to change, it's going to change your life in some major way. Or once I get my new kitchen and I'll get new crockery and I'll have it the way I want, my life is going to be so much better.
Yeah.
But in reality, and there's been a lot of research from various professors and psychologists and various people across social sciences and behavioral science fields.
Yeah.
Generally, what happens is once the endorphins wear off of that initial purchase, we just go back to our standard level of happiness. It peaks and then it just goes back, and life just carries on. So it's really, our things related to our well-being that make us happier, spending time with our friends and family, spending time doing the things that we love doing, spending time to rest and let our bodies rejuvenate, to sleep, to have time to actually care for our physical health and eat healthy or exercise. And they're the things that actually really contribute to our level of happiness. It's not the things that we own. And so sometimes those things that we own, the extra pair of shoes or the new handbag or the new dress that we're rewarding ourselves and so forth, do the opposite thing. They actually make our life harder and more difficult, because just to find the particular dress, more decisions there's more decisions to make, takes longer to maintain the house. So there's a lot of benefits to having less. And with my clients, I never ask them to let go of anything. That's purely up to them. But we do, when we talk about their lifestyle and how they want their life, what they want their life to look like, and what they want their home to feel like, and understanding all of those, when we're going through the things, they usually can identify and going, oh, I've just had this forever. I don't even know why I still have it, because it's not aligned with the vision for my life, or it's not aligned with my life now. It's just something that I purchased when I first moved out of home, and I spent a lot of money on it back then, and it was really important to me back then, but actually now it means nothing to me. So so it's still difficult. It's always a difficult process for my clients to often let go of things, but when they do, by their own choice, I can physically see a change in their body. I can see over a week, because I see them weekly. I see some of my clients more than I see my own friends. And so you do get a nice relationship with my clients, that I can see that how gradually, their shoulders are higher, they're standing taller, they have a different level of energy. They've gone, when I first start with them, there's not a lot that they can do outside of their work or their everyday life, just in the home. But then gradually, as we let go of things, or there's less in the home, it is bringing that freedom, in that all of a sudden they've done something, like they've just emptied out a whole cupboard by themselves, where 2 or 3 months ago the thought of that would have been too all-consuming and overwhelming, that they would have just the door, looked at it blankly, gone, oh no, take 3 steps backwards, close the door, and gone had a cup of tea. Where now they have this new sense of just confidence, really, that they're able to go ahead and do it themselves. And they understand the process, because I've taught, part of my service is teaching those organizational skills and the process, so that I can walk away and they have the knowledge to it themselves. So the freedom, freedom of less things, it brings so much. It's not just about the physical look of the space. It just lightens the whole mental load. It does increase someone's health. There's Peter Walsh, famous professional organizer, has written a book about decluttering and weight loss. and how lose the clutter, lose the weight.
Yes,
and it does. I've seen it happen in clients that
that's
At
amazing.
the start they were in a size 20 clothing, and by the time that we go through, they're down to a size 14 or something, and they haven't changed much. They've just been able to get it's really, really fascinating.
That is amazing.
It's really interesting. I think if you've got I see your home as your foundations.
Yes.
Like if you can get your home working really well, that real solid base, then it can help with your relationships. It can help in your career. It can help with your health and everything. It's really, really, really fascinating.
It's incredible, and it's so timely, Amy. There's a global gender gap in terms of the gender gap. We know about the gender gap on pay, but the gender gap goes deeper than that. So there's a global gender gap report that's produced every year, and it takes into consideration health outcomes, education, political standing, and pay. And for the first time, so a couple of years ago, PwC has been looking into consistently, they've been looking into why the gender gap, particularly in the workplace, exists. And what they found for the first time a couple of years ago, for the first time ever since they've been recording and looking into this, the number one reason for the gender gap in the workplace is actually not in the workplace, it's in the home. It's about the imbalance in the home. And this mental load that you talk about, it's both extraordinary and makes plain sense that everything else will flow more easily when your home is more organized.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And because I think if that the gender gap, so if maintaining the home is the responsibility of the woman, they're taking all of those decisions about that, I need to buy toilet cleaner, I need to fold the washing or do the load of washing. They're taking that to work with them, right?
Totally.
And so they've got those decisions to make, as well as everything to do with their profession, and then they're taking it back home again. So, and if that job is done by somebody else, so for the if it is a family where there is true inequality and the male isn't contributing to the maintenance of the home, they're not taking those that stresses to work with them. So that's a really interesting report. I'd be interested to read it myself.
I'll flick it over to you. Amy, you are you're a professional coach. You are accredited with the International Coach Federation. Your qualifications are not just around having the latest insight into what Kmart has on their shelves for organizing people's stuff. The work that you do is so deep, but the work that you're doing is not therapy, and yet it seems to have such a therapeutic impact in people's lives. It's fascinating.
It is interesting. I just need to correct you. I'm not fully qualified with the Coaching Federation yet, but I'm working towards it.
Amazing.
But it's really interesting. I build such strong relationships with my clients, and a lot of the time I guess I'm in such a very privileged position where my clients have the confidence, I guess it's all around trust, to talk to me and tell me things that they're ashamed of. That sometimes, actually numerous times, someone will say something that's so personal, so in depth, so that then they just stop and then they go, oh my God, I have never said that out loud to a single soul. I've never told my husband that, I've never told my mother that, and I've never told my best friend that.
Wow.
They thank me, and they'd say, I feel so good now.
And
then it allows, that just breaks something in a positive way, that then they can move forward, and whatever it was that was holding them back, it changes. So I don't in any way, my coaching and my professional organising services work hand in hand. So if I'm coaching a client, I'm just coaching a client. If I'm organising in the home, we're organising. And if I think that the client needs some form of coaching, I will say, we'll stop back and say, would you be interested in, doing a coaching session? So that they're fully aware that they're being coached, and they're an active participant and willing participant.
So one hat on, one hat off.
Yeah, one hat on, one hat off. But yeah, I am very impartial. I try not to put any of my views or thoughts on in scenario. I'm not a counsellor, although I get told a lot of things. I'm not giving advice as to how they need to approach it. It's a bit more like it's a friendship relationship in that way, in that I can give my own personal thoughts if they ask for it. And a lot of times they do, but I'm not. And I do say to them, well, I can give you my own thoughts, but please talk to their own, your psychologist or your other supports.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Amy, I want to, we're just about out of time, but I just want to read one more piece from your book, if that's okay. It is so powerful, this book, honestly, it's just beautiful. You say that a home that's considered and organised in a way that works for you and supports you in the way that you need it to can lead to amazing things. It's truly life-changing. You say you've seen women emerge from periods of deep overwhelm, depression or anxiety to find a new sense of confidence, calm and happiness. The kind of happiness that makes you glow. The newfound space in their home and release on their mental load is profound. They begin making big decisions that have been weighing on them for years. Some take on new passions and hobbies. Many started their own business, begun studying or returned to the workforce in a way they've never thought they could achieve. They've found themselves again. They're happy, they're proud. They've created their sanctuary simply by designing a home that supports them, and that is pure happiness.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful, just beautiful. It is absolute pure happiness talking with you and hearing your ideas. It's just gorgeous.
Well, thank you very much. I've enjoyed chatting with you as well, and with my clients. And you just rereading that to me just makes me like, I just get a little tear, because it's taking me back to a lot of the moments with clients. Even this morning, I just had a client say to me, and we didn't do anything major, we just rearranged the living room so it could take advantage of a beautiful view that she had.
Yes.
And that's just her sanctuary. We're trying to work the way that she could have a calm spot.
Oh, I love that.
And she just said to me, Amy, you make me so happy.
Yes.
This, and it's just something simple, but so thank you.
I feel as though there are so many lines. I just want to, I'm going to be listening back to this pod chat, and I'm going to be writing down so many things, just even just that line you used just then about just rearranging things slightly to take advantage of something beautiful. That's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And really powerful.
Oh, it is. And that's going back to the very first step, is understanding your lifestyle and what you want out of your life.
Yes.
And for her, that was our very first chat. It was, I just want to have sanctuary. I want to have a place where I can enjoy my cup of tea and watch the birds. Oh. And so that was all part of, there was huger range of organisation that happened behind that. Yes. But that was just one small little part of it, was moving a chair. Moving a chair. So divine.
I believe that women do help other women. I hope that this episode has empowered you to question your willingness to go last. I hope that you will embrace balance, and I'm also hoping that you will help me to help other women to do the same. So how can you help? Show your support for the work. Subscribe and review the podcast here where you're listening. Follow the Goddess of Balance on Instagram to catch some cheeky behind the scenes and extras. Connect with me on LinkedIn and share the posts with your network. That would be sensational. If you have enjoyed this program, this episode, you will no doubt love my group coaching program. You've got to find all the links to these in the little written blurb for this episode. Thank you, my friend, for normalizing balance with me. We are raising performance and reputations, wellness and equality. Together, we're creating positive change for working women, starting with you. Sincerely, I thank you for being part of the movement.